So, hello everyone, Caroline Winter here, in charge of La French Tech America. And I'm very happy to introduce you Florence Tison, who is now based in Paris, but usually in San Francisco, in the United States for the past 10 years or so. Yes. And now managing director of the program Impact and the head of technology and innovation department at Business France in the North America, right?
Awesome.
Did I say
yes.
it right? Okay, something like that. So now Florence will get into the nitty-gritty of how to tackle the US market when you want to expand from France, especially, but not only. So if some of you are not necessarily based in France, but you are interested in knowing what are the challenges, or anything you need to know to make it big and fast here in the US, well, this is your time. Go ahead, Florence. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Caroline, for the introduction, and hi everyone. Really happy to be with you today to share basically the first steps and how to make it in the US. I will share my screen, and hopefully this will work straight away. Yes, it does. So I'm, like Caroline said, Florence. I am the managing director of the tech and industry practice for North America. Based in San Francisco, we have teams scattered across North America, focused on helping French tech companies expand in North America. So there, just a few words about Impact USA. That's our acceleration program, sort of an executive MBA type program. We have worked with over 90 startups so far. 91% of them secured American customers. They have raised over $1 billion since the establishment of the program back in 2014. And here are some of the companies that we've been working with, including Miracle, our French unicorn. So just wanted to kick off with 5 facts about European tech startups. First one is what we've noticed, and these facts come from Index Venture. Startups are further along in terms of scaling when they expand in the US. That is to say, for the past 7 to 5 years, companies tend to come here fairly early before the Series A. What we see now is more Series A, Series B. They are stronger and more mature before they enter the US market, and that is fairly recent. Another fact is what we've seen is that Europe was able to build global B2C successes with a limited presence in the US. They were able to do so by leveraging the web distribution channels, and that is interesting. Also, what we've seen is Europe has been building B2B companies with great success that do not operate at all in the US. This is mostly because of regulations that prevent them from operating in the US, where they don't have a market, but they are extremely strong in Europe, and they are key players in Europe. And the fourth fact is, and that is also new, we can see that founders are securing funding from top US investors without needing to move to the US or needing to flip. Also, a new trend worth noting. And finally, what we see, and that is an important fact that you need to consider, European corporations still tend to invest less in technology than their US counterparts, meaning that when they do invest in technology, it is because of compliance. They do not see technology as a business transformation tool or a need that can drive ROI. And for this reason specifically, European companies still need to expand in North America if they truly have global ambitions. So just to make it really blunt, this is a picture showing the investment in B2B software by corporates in Europe and in North America. So pretty obvious, if this is the space you are in, that means that your market is in North America. This means that if you have global ambitions, if you want to be a key player in the field, you need to come to North America. So, and again, just to stress the fact, I chose this quote by Jan Hammer from Index: figure out where the opportunity is, figure out where the money is, and just grow your business there. That's just about it. So what is, I wanted to share with you today what a typical B2B SaaS European startup journey in the US looks like. So usually this is part one. You're in Europe, you raise your seed funding, build your product out of Europe, and started to establish product market fit. That is step one. And then you're starting to acquire customers from the US and to service them remotely. And this, the way we see it is done, so from your European office, trying to assess traction. And then you're going to raise your Series A, ideally led by a transatlantic or US investor. And this is where we come into part two, which is where the focus is starting to shift from Europe to the US. And that focus is absolutely critical. You cannot succeed in the US if you do not have a focus in terms of investment money, but time investment and product and market and type of market you service. And we'll get to that later on. So the focus needs to be on sales, on the product roadmap, because as you come to the US, you will figure out what your customers want, what are the what roadmap they're looking for. At this stage, usually the CEO is traveling back and forth to the US, trying to meet with prospects to understand the market and start to build a small team, sort of like a landing squad, 2 to 4 people, led by a player, sales coach. So that means someone that is willing to open new markets. And we strongly advocate for either the CEO, the founder, or someone that is highly invested in the company to move to the US. Not only is this a strong signal to the market that you are serious about the US, that you are here to stay, but it is also the best way to understand how your prospects, how your users, your local users are using your product and why they're buying it. And as a key stakeholder in your company, you're also able to make quick decisions to adjust and pivot and work on your product where it is needed. Next step is the Series B, because obviously you're starting to have traction, it works well, and you're going to need to recruit and start scaling. Ideally, your Series B is led by a US investor or again, transatlantic company. Part 3 gets really exciting. This is where you scale your go-to-market team in the US, including local CMO and CRO hires. You want local people to understand the market. And then the switch is going to be really stronger onto the US team, and you will hire a dedicated GM for Europe, Middle East, and Africa area. You're going to raise then your Series C because you're growing and it's working pretty well. All your non-technical leadership will now be in the US, apart from your GM. You will still have the tech, the engineering team, the R&D in Europe, where you have your strong assets in your IP. And then you'll raise your Series D. After the Series D is where you will be starting, the way we see it, to build a customer-oriented product team in the US. You will still have a product team in Europe, but that team will be more technically oriented. And it's important to have that customer focus where you have talent in the US, which has the experience in doing so. And then as you scale, obviously you might be needing to further fundraise. either to acquire or develop markets or develop your team. And last item on this list is to list your company wherever you see fit. So that was a brief, great, there I am back, a brief overview of the B2B SaaS European startup journey. What we want to hear, what we want to tell you is scaling in the US can be amazing, but it can also be tough. It's a highly competitive market. This is where you have the highest concentration of B2B SaaS companies. This is where you'll be able to benchmark your solution. When you arrive here from Europe or wherever you're based, your network will be limited. It's just a fact, and you will need to build that network, and it takes time. You can rely on networks such as French founders, such as the French tech, such as business friends, or your community founders. All these people are here to help you and to support you. Don't blog them away. You're here to be local and meet with local, but your network from where you're from can really help you. Processes are more sophisticated here because this is where it all started. So and because the market is so huge, you need processes to address such a large market. So that's sales processes, marketing processes, HR processes, and that requires a pretty solid organization that you will have to put in place. And of course, it's an investment, like I said, in time, in money, and a personal investment from the CEO, the founder, or whoever will make the decision to come here alone or with her or his family. So that is something we really need to keep in mind at this stage. Question we usually have is when do we start this US expansion? Well, first, back to the first slides, clients. These are the ones you should be looking at. Not because your competitor is coming after you on your local market. Question is, do you have more than 50% of your TAM in total addressable market in North America? If so, your client base is here, and so you need to get out there. If you're an app that can be distributed through online services, you can start really early. If not, if you're more in the B2B SaaS, we usually advocate for Series A right after your Series A, and then depending on your solution, you might need to have to wait Series B or a little later to have a stronger position on the European market. There's no easy answer to the when question, but look at where your clients are and how you can service them. One thing that you need to keep in mind is don't come too late. The greatest risk when thinking about the US is coming here too late. Too early can also be risky, but too late is the worst one because there's your competition here, and you risk having them taking that seat, being bigger, and then coming after you in Europe, and it'll be too late. So first, clients. And then you need to look at localization and regulations. Like we said earlier, regulations may not be there at the time you want to expand in North America, and you might need to assess whether the timing is right. So we're talking fintechs here who need to be more careful about what they can and what they cannot do. Localization, does your product need to be strongly localized? And so this might require some adjustments before you go. So factors that you need to take into consideration. Competitive environment is important, obviously, and this is an ongoing process. You need to assess who are your competitors, how strong they are, and are you ready to take them on with a differentiated proposition. If you're not ready to take them on now because your product does not have the minimum features that are offered here, you might need to be working on your product before being able to come here. And then there's the human and financial capital. Are you ready as a CEO or founder to get out there? Do you have the structure in place in Europe to not collapse once you as a founder has left the team for North America to develop the market here, and you will need to be 100% focused on what's happening here and not be bothered about what's happening in Europe. In Europe. So human capital is important. You need to have that strong organizational structure in place. And then financial, obviously you need the funds. On average, what we've seen is first year in the US is $1 million budget. You can come with less, you can obviously come with more. 1 million is what we see to be okay, and not but don't come halfway. Halfway is just the recipe to failure. Where do you settle? East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, Florida, Austin? We hear a ton of things today. What we do see is San Francisco is no longer the go-to place. New York has had a huge attraction since 2014. I'm based in San Francisco, but keep New York in my heart. You have to choose based on a series of factors, but the first one of them is, where are your customers and partners? Because you want to have them close. COVID has changed many things with remote selling, etc. But being close to your customers and partners is really important, because you need to be able to see them, meet them, and that's important. So if you're selling to startups, to the tech community, if you need to go through Apple, Google, etc., San Francisco is the place to be. If you're more into fintech and finance and retail, New York is a pretty great spot to choose. Again, Midwest will be for other types of industries, but take that into consideration. It is important. Time zone is another important one. Time difference is really important in how you will be able to manage both the US and your European operations. So San Francisco is great. San Francisco is really far. We have a 9-hour difference with Paris versus a 6-hour difference if you're based on the East Coast. You can't take that alone into consideration, but keep it in mind that it's harder to work out of the West Coast. Other founders have advocated that it was not only were the clients and partners there, so that was number one reason to be there. It was also a place where they could focus way more easily on the US market and not be distracted by Europe versus the East Coast. I had talent in there, and I crossed it out voluntarily because COVID just happened. It used to be one of a key factor to your localization decision, is where will you find the talent you need to recruit to scale your team. Today with COVID, you can the working from home and remote working have strongly developed, and basically all companies now hire from anywhere in the US, and so can you. So you do not have to consider as strongly as before the talent option when choosing location. Except if if you're building a company where you need people on site, etc. Cost is also important. There are cities that are more expensive than others. There are states which offer greater incentives if you localize your operations here. They are really willing to bring in foreign companies to their grounds and have them recruit there. So don't hesitate to talk to them and see what their best offer is. They can be quite exciting. And then finally, it's also, like we said, a question of network. Where do you have a network, a personal network from your school, friends, whatever? Where does your investor have a network? Because this network will be helping you to scale so much faster. So don't go in a place where you don't know anybody. Or if you do, be prepared to hustle harder, because it does take time. And finally, go, and I did not write it here, but it's important, go to a place where you want to live. you're going to be spending some time there. So don't make it a misery for you, for your wife, your partner, your dog, whatever. Where do you want to live is also something to take into consideration. So how do we get there? Like I said, landing. This is going to be the running joke of this session. There we go. Landing squad, come here, 2 to 4 people to start with, including the founder, senior, junior. You can work with VIE. So these are young European talents that are under 28 years old that you can recruit to work for you. Then you need to identify experienced advisors and providers, because you can't do it all on your own. So don't try to go into accounting, legal stuff. There are professionals that can help you and that can do it well. So you need to talk to a lawyer. You need to, whether for immigration contracts, etc. CPA can be really helpful. Financial advisors. Use your network to have the good recommendations. But these are the network you need to start building around you. Other advisors could be your community, founders who have done it before you. You can be here to help and share their feedback. We run a program called Impact USA, like I mentioned, where we organize a ton of mentoring sessions and mentoring, where you can share with those who have done it before you what works best and what you should never do again. You need to choose your market entry strategy. Where do you start? Who do you sell to? How do you sell that? Test, learn, iterate, and repeat over and over again until you nail it. It's going to take some time. Listen to feedback is really, really important. Be humble. Your product may not be sold in the US the way it is sold in Europe, and that's okay. You just need to hear it and adapt. And then you're going to need to find your magic triangle, and we'll get to that. So market entry is all about spotlighting. Your solution may be able to serve a ton of different markets or do a ton of different things. But that is, like you see on the picture on the left, if you spotlight too many things, you're basically spotlighting nothing. We want one thing, really focus, and that is how to start in the US. Choose one thing you want to focus on, and that's it. And you will be focusing all your efforts, all your marketing, all your money on that product for that specific segment that you are working on. And your spotlight will be the differentiation. So you need to spotlight your benefits for the entry, and sorry for the typo there, for the entry market, where you can most easily and clearly demonstrate them. So where you can prove that you are the best provider for this to help solve that huge pain. And this is the market entry is where you most uniquely address a customer's critical need. The magic triangle that we mentioned is basically figuring out, what do you sell? So that's your product definition. To who do you sell it? How do you sell it? How do you win that account? How do you support your client? That one is very important. And how do we build more pipeline? And that's what we said. It's going to take some time, iteration. But once you have found that magic triangle that works specifically for you, for your company, and that will be very different from one company to another, then things are going to get really exciting. Thing is, hard truth, you can't run in water and you can't rapidly scale scales. You're going to have to try. It's going to take some time. And so walking in water is going to mean finding your magic triangle, hiring a small sales team to revalidate what you're trying to prove, just to make sure. Trying to get this repeatable sales process, the how do you sell, how do you win, how do you do it? Then you're going to have to develop all the customer material and the internal material. This is going to help you to design your playbook that you will be able to hand out to your sales team, because your sales teams will be following that playbook that you have tried to develop. You're going to have to prepare a formal training and onboarding to train your recruit as fast as possible so they are quickly operational. Just a couple example of sales strategies. There are many different ones. Just wanted to give you a very hands-on example. You can start by identifying 10 marquee US targets. And here you want to focus more on brand rather than on revenue. Your goal here is to get some references so that other clients will be able to trust you and that you can be able to prove that you are the right person for this, the right company. So you're going to have to define what kind of POC you want to showcase that will match that differentiation. This will help you prove the superiority of the product, and you're going to have to drive usage for these accounts. And then you will be able to use them as references. This means saying no to other accounts. This is what focus is all about. Focus is about being able to say no to accounts because they do not correspond to the strategy you're trying to develop in the US. Another strategy that you can choose is to identify a market segment. It could be, I don't know, mid-market, whatever. In that segment, you want to pick 100 companies, 100 names, and go after them with account-based marketing. You can offer free versions with auto install, and then try to and then for maybe up to 10 of them, 10 of those accounts, not too much because it's free. And then you want to upsell 15% of those top users to paid version with inside sales. This is going to improve your model, the fact that you're able to convert. And before we end, I wanted to share with you a few post-COVID facts. This is data I sourced from McKinsey, Forrester, Gartner, and just reorganized together. But this is an important one. 75% of B2B buyers prefer remote human interactions or digital self-service, even for deals up to 500K. And that is post-COVID. That is right now. That was from August this summer. So that means the new buyer habits are sticking. We will continue to have remote sell-in, async engagement via email, chat, etc., in addition to other platforms. This does not mean that in-person interaction will never come back. Of course not. This will be also a differentiator, but keep in mind that remote selling will keep on, will stay there. Another point is interesting is the financial ROI is the most important criteria for 82% of the buyers. That was up from 46% in 2019. Financial. That means that you need to work on how you introduce your solution and how you train your SDRs and BDRs to introduce your companies. Nice to have projects have stalled. You want to show solutions that promise tangible financial benefits because these projects are the ones that are being fast-tracked today. Finally, for non-self-serve deals, we see that there are 17 meaningful interactions before completing a purchase. Up to 11 individual stakeholders are involved in a B2B purchase with higher levels of sign-off, including the CFO, back to our financial ROI criteria. And that is not new, but it's still growing. B2B buyers expect a personalized attention. That's 76% of them. That means, guys, work on your marketing. Just changing the name of your emailing is not going to work anymore. And there are great solutions out there to help you that. And I think that was all for me. Just wanted to quickly share a couple slides of what we do at Impact to help you. It's take it as an executive MBA type program where you have sessions with a peer learning program. You have mentoring and you have business development. Just an example of the type of content that we work on. Pretty intense, pretty exciting, lots of great feedback from the companies that we have been working with. Really looking forward to connect with you. You have my LinkedIn, you have my email. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Florence.
38.
You did awesome. You are super on time. We need more people like you actually in the world. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. This conversation will be available for replay very soon. So please follow us on LinkedIn, either Business France Florence, myself, Caroline Fauché-Winter, or La French Tech New York, or any other French Tech in the United States or Canada. Thank you so much and have a very good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day, everyone. Take care.